You do have to live for you. You cannot live for others. So I am going to say that I do think it's more beneficial for you to live life on your own terms. And have you ever sat down and really tried to plan your life out how you wanted it to actually go? Um, like really, like not to say that you fell in right now in life, but just it didn't go according to plan. This is something I think about now that I wish I had known when I was younger. When you're younger, you do not think about a lot of times, in most cases. Can't speak for all, but I think a lot of us when we're younger don't really think about how we want our lives to plan out to be. People say that they want to be a lawyer, they want to be this, they want to be that. But a lot of times we don't have enough life experiences to really understand what we really want. We're just going off of the flow of life. And a lot of times when you're going off the flow of life, you tend to gravitate to what's more beneficial in life, whereas though you're looking at the money, you're looking at where you're seeing most people go to, the tech world. You see a lot of people go to the tech world, so you might say, yo, I want to go into computers, I might want to go networking, and that was something that I did. I went to networking, and I thought that was the thing to do because computer science was something that's real big and real, beneficial when it comes to making money. And a lot of times when it comes to making money, that tend to sway you that direction. And it might not be something you really want to do, which means you're not going to tend to go all in because you don't really want to do it. It's not fulfilling to you. So I ended up going from networking to programming. Not similar field, but you're programming. Programs to operate according to what it needs to do, and I end up going over to programming, and I end up hating it. So I end up wasting almost 4 years, almost 4.5 years of my life going into the computer field. And the end result is I ended up with a lot of school debt and also not staying in that field. I didn't stay in that field because I could not advance in that career where the company I was with this company, and they was also helping with school, which means they was you have to sign a agreement that I just can't bounce. I just can't bounce from this company, or I'm gonna end up having to pay all the money back that they dispersed out to me for school. That's something to think about. Like when you sign up for school, and a job is paying for helping out with your schooling, you do have to stay there for a certain amount of time. And I ended up being stagnated. I had to stay in a certain position. I didn't get promoted, and I seen someone from the outside go inside a position that I was recommended for, and they overlooked me. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad or a good thing. It's something that I end up learning that nothing is going to be given to you. It will not be given to you. So don't think that anybody is going to give you anything just because you finished school or you did this, you did that. They put money out for you and you just going to be rewarded with that. No. Sometimes it's all about who you know or who you tied into or who's actually looking at you to put you in that position that's of authority. It is what it is. So I end up making that transition going over into the trucking field because I felt as though, like, since I'm a people person, I like to be outside. Computers kind of made me feel sad, dull, and it was killing my sense of humor. I was just starting to feel dead because being inside of a building, looking at a screen, after a while, you start to realize too, psychologically, like it weighs on your mental. That's probably why you see a lot of programmers or people in the tech field not as sociable. And I'm not saying they're all like that, but I see most are like that. And I think because you have to be dedicated to that job because programming is not easy. Maybe to some, but not to most. Programming is strenuous. It's a lot of hard work, and you have to put a lot of work in running programs. So when you look at anything that you're running today, When you're looking at, like, especially places like, you know, people being on YouTube, they don't understand all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, you know, that has to be written in order to work right. But by me going into the trucking field, it brought my horizons to be able to get out, change some things up, and, you know, and move smart according to what I want to do. Not to say that it's not going to pay the bills. You want something that's going to pay the bills, but it all depends on what you actually want to do. If you able to have a nice living doing whatever you want to do. Some people, I remember a lady moved next door to me, and she was renting from the lady that owned the property, and she was a painter. She made her money off of paintings, and you could tell she loved it. You know, it was doable for her. That's why I'm realizing now that you have to do a lot of things in life that's good for you. Good for you. You know, and if you're able to take care of your family that way, or take care of just yourself. People today are just rocking out with just them. They don't have kids. They don't have a family. So whatever is beneficial for you, you do have to live for you. You cannot live for others. So I am going to say that I do think it's more beneficial for you to live life on your own terms and not nobody else's, because only you can wake up every day and be happy, have joy on your face, to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, yo, I'm glad that I picked this decision. You cannot regret your decision. And a lot of times we regret what we do in life because we was living through others. May that be your parents or your siblings or your teachers, depending on whoever sway you in whatever direction. Sometimes it's good to sway you depending on what you are actually trying to do. If you are undecisive and you don't know kind of what direction you want to go in, sometimes you have to go out there and be able to, you know what I mean, study yourself, see what you like and what you don't like. Sometimes it's a gamble. Life is a gamble. It's like playing the lottery. It's a gamble. You can only win a lottery if you play. And the way of life is only won off of how you play it. If you play it wrong, it can be detrimental. If you play it right, meaning everything is not going to go right just because you play life right. It means that you having options. You opening up the door to have those options to be able to conquer wherever that you see fit for you. And everything doesn't float everybody's boat. You know, sometimes some people go into fields that they end up liking, and then they end up losing the love for it. And then they end up making transitions and going over to something else. Hey, that's just how life is. Nothing is set in stone. So I think that this is going to be beneficial for a lot of people to understand that growth doesn't happen just by you just sitting around. It goes by you actually doing. And doing is you actually going out trying to understand what it is that you have a passion for. You know, I think a lot of us got to get outside that comfort zone and be able to go places, like get up and go places by yourself and be able to look around the world and see it differently. That way, like if you're looking at something, like I say this, like especially for anybody, if you're looking to go into the medical field, look at doing surgeries. You know, you need a lot of surgeons. You have a lot of nurses out here. The economy is filled with a bunch of nurses and pediatricians. You know what I mean? It's nothing wrong with that. But when you look at surgeons, like you look at it's low. And especially you see a lot of foreigners. Not wrong with that. But when it comes to America, you do see a very small percentage of Americans that are surgeons. And you can see that when you look it up. And I think it's one of those things where as though people are scared because you are operating on people, saving lives. And that's a lot to live up to. So I get it, you know. But I think the creativity is lost today because people are not studying themselves to see how far they can go in life. And you're not seeing people create no more. Anything that you're seeing now is all a representation of somebody building something off of someone else. Like when you see somebody do a car, it's always off of somebody else. it's a CEO that then left the company and went over here and started up another car that looks similar to the place that they left. Creativity, it seemed like it's leaving. It's leaving because nobody's standing on their own no more. No one is using their resources to be able to garner any type of success of just trying to stand alone. Everybody's trying to come together. This is probably one of the reasons why people can't stand Elon Musk. I'm not saying it's not politics, but when you look at people like Elon Musk, Tesla looked like it was going to be a failing car in the beginning. Think about that. It wasn't long ago. Tesla has not been out long. Think about that. Tesla was not even selling like that. You had one Tesla on the road you would see every once in a while. Then you started seeing 3. Then you start seeing maybe like 10. And then all of a sudden, now you're seeing Teslas all over the place. Now don't get it twisted. People starting to show a little hatred, but at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with the car and the person. It's all about productivity. What can you do with your resources that can make the world better or make people look at their life and make it a lot more comfortable for them? And it's just funny because I remember seeing a long time ago, you can look it up, I can't remember the guy's name. He made a car run off of water, which was using oxygen and something else. I forgot what it was. Y'all know what I'm talking about if y'all look it up. I don't know what happened to him, but they made him stop that because he was getting he was receiving a lot of successful people looking into what he was doing, which means it would have made the oil field plummet. So it's a reason for everything. Everything is not going to be put out there to make your life better. Some things are put out here so it can make you spend more money. But the thing is, you only know what you know off of where you stop at. So if you stop in a certain position in your life, where you like, yo, I'm happy here, then hey, stay there. But if you are looking to be creative, be creative. Don't discuss it with anybody. Start doing your own research. Remember, everything changes, especially every 10 to 20 years. You're always seeing something different. It's always something different. You know, just think about it. We had people stuck in outer space. They just came back. Damn, and that came from Elon Musk. That's crazy. He sent a craft there to get them back. Think about that. NASA been doing this since the end of time. This is a person. Just kind of make you wonder, don't it? How far can we go? How far? And don't get it twisted. I understand money has its way of advancing you. But remember, when you talk about certain people, think about the places that these people were at first. You gotta remember, and I keep mentioning Elon Musk. Remember, he was part of, I believe, PayPal. Remember, it's a build-up to get you further. You have to start something somewhere in order to gain success, to be able to do other things. And it's sad because we don't have too many people we can look at today and see that why so many people today are failing. And a lot more people are going to fail because nobody is really feeling encouraged to actually create. Creativity is starting to hurt people because of the resources, their money. Everything gets implemented around money, which is true. You do need money in order to put into yourself, because with no money you cannot just starting up your own functions off of zero funds, you know. And a lot of times you have to raise money, and that comes from communication skills and also relationships. If you don't have relationships, you're not going to be able to have that type of success. So it's a lot of things that are in play. But at the end of the day, that's for you to actually learn. You to learn and study how you can do that, you know. And a lot of times that starts from young, coming up, Because a lot of times you train yourself when you're young to fail. And when you fail, you'll end up having more success because you won't take failure. It won't be on your sleeve of saying, I failed. I can't see myself doing this more. When you're younger, that mentality is different. You have a better hustler mentality to be able to go harder. Because you're young, you have the energy, you have the youthfulness, and you don't have that much life that you live to be able to see the world differently. That's why a lot of times when you're younger, you end up being more creative because you view the world different. When you get older, the world is tainted. You sometimes bring that baggage with you, even though you're wrong. But you could be right. But at the same time, just because you're right, you could be wrong at the same time too. Because just because, say for instance, this person is bad, you might view the world like most people are bad like this. That's not true. That's that person that you encounter is bad. But everybody's not like that. So what happens is when you're older, we all notice when we're older, we start to be tainted. And we start looking at the world like, well, most people are a little off. Like most people got problems. No, we all got situations. Just that life has dealt us sometimes a bad hand, and some people have a better hand than others. This is why a lot of times people are starting to hate billionaires and you know what I mean, millionaires. And they look at them as like, why one person would have that much money? And I'm gonna twist it. I get it. A lot of this money is coming from off the backs of people doing all type of dirty tactics and getting over on people. But it still does not stop you from trying to advance. But like I always say, everybody's not dealt a good hand. You know, and I think that's one of the things too that also hurts the inner city. You go up in a city environment, whereas though you have a lot of chaos and violence, it is harder to move consistently and be able to be productive because you do have those hurdles of people trying to bully you, which turns you into I don't want to call you a savage, but you tend to have a mentality of, yo, nobody's going to disrespect me. And you end up having a fighting mentality, which you bring to the world of someone say something crazy to you, you end up snapping. It's a reason. That's because it's your environment. And those environments can set you up to be sometimes successful, but in most cases, most people don't make it out of crazy environments unless they went through something crazy. And it's sad that it's like that, you know. It makes men real hard, but it also makes men bitter at the world and turn women into savages. You know, what can I get out of this person? You know, everything is about money. Money, 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 money. It's a reason. Everything is set up to have the world turn into a certain direction, which they keep making it turn and it never stop. You'll always want more, always want more. That's why when you live in certain environments, you're never satisfied. You're never satisfied because you're trying to live up to something that you're really not trying to, you don't even know what you're trying to live up to. It's a facade. Everybody's trying to showboat, but most people around you are broke. So if most people around you broke and you showboat, you're like the big man on you look like the big Willie. You know what I mean? You're the dude on the block. And that's not supposed to be like that. This is why you see people that make it into a high position and they get away from the chaos. But the sad part about it is if you stay in the chaos and you that guy, you're normally going to have a short lifespan because someone's going to take you out of here because of envy. It never goes together. That's why you have to be careful of how you operate in life and your success. You know, it's never a even playing field. It never will be. So you do have to be smart at whatever you do in this life, but also be creative at the same time. But as you being creative, get around a better environment. I don't care who's in your environment. It has to be something comfortable for you to be able to enjoy waking up. If you can't wake up in that environment and be able to walk outside, you're in a bad environment. So that's a sign for you that you are not in a good environment. So I just think that be creative and do your thing. And that's all, you know what I mean, the world needs. Because we need more people to look up to, not people to look down on and say, come back here to give back. Enough giving back. Like, at the end of the day, if you're going to give back, give back. But we need more advancement. And we're seeing the world that we live in today just seem like it's crumbling. But what's happening is you're having too many people in one area be able to prosper the most. In the middle and the lower class, it's just crumbling. So, hey, I'm gonna just say this before I end this. Stay creative. Stay in that creative mind and do you. All right?